Hello, my friends. Thanks for joining once again, Kardec Radio. This is Spiritism, a closer look. Luiz Lima here, broadcasting tonight from Orlando, Florida. Tonight, we're going to take a closer look at the impact of our thoughts in our health. Very interesting. And I think the first question is, why is this such an important topic? We've, as a society, we have been hearing about the subject. Why it became so important? I think the straight answer, the minimum answer, is because of quality of life. We all want good quality of life, of course. So there are several different factors that will affect the quality of life for each one of us. So we have economical factors, environmental, social, cultural, political, all of these things. However, there's something that plays a major role in this quality of life, and that is our health. If we feel like we are not a healthy person, things will get more complicated. So health is a major desire for all of us. We want to be in health. We want to feel good. We want to have this feeling of well-being. If we don't have that, our by default, our quality of life, pays for it. So health is a major player. However, health, according to Spiritism, in the Spiritist definition, is a little bit more than health in terms of medical terms. The best definition of health that we have comes from Spiritism, the most complete definition, and it doesn't have too many words. It's very simple, and it's brought to us by Spirit Emmanuel. He says, health is the perfect harmony of the soul. Just a few words, but it says it all. And we can be talking about, days and months here, just about this phrase. What we are going to do tonight is not this. We are going to take an overview of health and how thoughts impact the perfect harmony of the soul. So the word soul takes us one layer up, at least one layer up from the standard definition of health in medicine, in medical terms. Because now you have a major component that was not under consideration, which is the spiritual component. The definition, according to classical medical terms, I would say, includes physical health, a physical component, and includes an emotional component. But there's something more. There's a third layer here, which is the spiritual component. So this definition of health almost invites us to reset our concept about health. So the first thing, when something affects our health, the first thing that is in line, the front end of keeping us healthy is our immune system. And there are some factors, a few things that will create difficulties, I would say, for the immune system to do its job. There are several studies by major outlets in research, like John Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, Stanford, Harvard, several. It goes on and on and on. A lot of universities have decent, extensive studies on what impacts the immune system, what brings it down, what brings your firewall down. And all these studies lead to the same basic conclusion. Things such as stress, anxiety, depression, those are correlated directly into the ability of the immune system to do what it's supposed to do. So stress and anxiety, depression, and some other things, anything that has this negative energy will play a role. Now, if you think that the biology and the chemistry in the body, physical body, is under the control or the command of the brain, then we have to take a look at the brain, how the brain takes all of these things, because it will propagate down to each cell. So the brain has this special ability that we call neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is the ability that our brain has to reshape itself, to shape itself. Let's understand this a little better. Let's think in terms of an analogy here. Suppose you go to the supermarket. Then I said, take a bag. Take a bag so you can put your stuff in when you go through the cashier. Before you put anything in it, so you have an empty bag that just was given to you. So if I ask you, what is the shape of the plastic bag in a supermarket? It's a strange question. And primarily we are going to say there is no shape. There is no shape. However, if you put a watermelon inside, now there's a shape. If you put a box, now there's a shape, but it's different than the shape that the watermelon created. So that plastic bag, that's the word plastic. That's what it does. It changes form. So neuroplasticity is the ability that the brain has to change itself. Brain, neuro, the brain changes itself according to what? To the content. Supermarket bag. When the content, what goes inside is a watermelon, you have one shape. When what goes inside is a box, you have another shape. So the shape is not created by the bag itself, but by the content, what the bag carries inside. So neuroplasticity is this. As a consequence of neuroplasticity, the brain will drive the entire chemistry and the biology in the body due to our thoughts. Our thoughts shape the brain because the brain has that ability. It's called neuroplasticity. The brain is not where thoughts leave from. The brain is where thoughts arrive, coming from one layer up to be processed and generated and generates compatible chemistry throughout the body. So when thoughts arrive at the brain, we're going to discuss this a little bit longer, further. When thoughts get into the brain generates chemistry. The brain is the source of everything that goes into the body, is the command. So it will generate chemistry throughout the body compatible with that thought. So if we have good thoughts, the chemistry that will be in our body, be part of our body, is going to be good energy, good things. If our thoughts are not good, the energy generated, the chemistry will be composed of bad things. So this layer up, where thoughts come from and received at the brain, is the perispirit. The perispirit conveys the thoughts that come from the spirit. So thought initiates at the spirit. That's what we think. And then it gets passed on to the perispirit and then on to the brain. And the brain reacts to all of it, creating chemistry in the body. Good or bad chemistry. Good and bad in terms of it's going to be good for the body or it's going to be bad for the body. Thoughts do not originate in the brain. The brain does not generate thoughts. It reacts to it. So we could say that the brain buys what the mind sells. Simple as that. The brain processes thoughts, doesn't create them. So then the brain sends down whatever message, whatever thought down to all the cells. And these cells, upon receiving that, they will put themselves in either growth mode or survival mode. Because those are, you see, cells don't think. They are led to take actions by the chemistry in the body. So the contents of a cell will be in growth mode when the message is good. And they will be in survival mode when the message is not good, fear. If you're in growth mode, you can't be in fear. If you're in fear, you can't be in growth mode. So it's either or, mutually exclusive. So what determines the mode that the cells are going to be in, growth or survival mode? What determines that? It's the content of our thoughts. Negative thoughts will put our cells in survival mode. Positive thoughts will set our cells in growth mode. Now imagine yourself, your full body, yourself. If you're afraid of something, for example, you're walking down the street and then you see a dog and you think your perception of that dog is that he is really, he's going to bite you and he's really mad at you for some reason. So you go into survival mode. You protect yourself. You maybe go to a corner, maybe you step away from it, from the dog, but you're not in growth mode. You're not happy about it. You can't be. You can only be happy and be back in growth mode when you overcome that. When you are free from that situation, when you free yourself from that situation. Whatever time you need, while the dog is in there, it's a problem for you. For all of us, right? That's a way of saying. So cells are in growth mode or survival mode, according to the contents of our thoughts. And the perception that we have, for example, the placebo effect, why does it work? Because our thoughts, not what's in the pill, because there's nothing in the pill, it's just sugar and talk. So our thoughts are induced to perceive that this is a positive message. So the brain sends down the message saying, hey, 70 trillion cells, there's a good thing happening here. And we get better without medicine, literally. As long as you let yourself be convinced that the little pill is going to be a good thing for you. You can be reflective to that. The doctor can say, this pill is going to cure you. This pill is going to take your pain away, whatever. You take the pill and you go like, I'm not sure about this. So you're being totally reflective to that. You're not being positive in terms of processing the event. So what you're telling yourself is this is not good. It's a negative message. So your cells are going to be in survival mode. And the placebo effect doesn't happen because it's not only the pill and the sugar, but it depends on your thoughts. Our thoughts define our attitudes. So that is to say that thoughts impact and affect the whole body. Well, there's some interesting here that we have to start discussing at the spiritual level. So number one, there's a disconnection between, or there's this connection mind, perispirit, and body. For us spiritists, when we study this becomes a one thing. Of course, we divide in parts to understand each part academically or in terms of studies, but that's one thing. The body is not two people or a spirit and a body. No, it's both connected. It's not fragmented. We are not two, spirit and body. We are a unit. So Besides what we have discussed so far, we all of us, we are all susceptible to spiritual influences. And that's where things get a little complicated. Because this is what happens. The perispirit, which sits between the spirit and the body, can be, in terms of understanding, for better comprehension, it can be divided into three parts that we call subtle bodies. We're not going to go too deep into this, but three parts, subtle body. The subtle body that is closest to the spirit is called mental body. And that's it. The mental body feels the first impact of what the spirit wants to do. So when the spirit thinks something, it goes down to the mental body. And the mental body produces the thought that's going to be conveyed later down the road. We're not going to explain the process today, but it's going to be conveyed down the road to the brain. However, this mental body, like I said, is a subtle body. It's out there in the spirit world, living among other spirits that share the same general, ideas, and they are along the same vibration. So any spiritual influence that we are all susceptible to will come from spirits that are able to interfere with our thought. For example, let's say you are working on something and your coworker with you sitting at the table is looking at your doing. We are both discussing how to do this thing. And you say, "Oh, I have a thought. I think we should do this, this, and this." He will have a thought that might be different, but we can also include this and this. And if we agree on, that's it. So the result that my thought and my coworker's thought produced has, it's actually a combination of both. Spiritual influence is like this. Our mental body processes our thought, but it also could, depending on how alert we are for spiritual influences, it could process somebody else's, or not somebody else's, other discarnate spirit thought. So the mental body mixes them together. My thought and theirs, how many spirits are sending influential waves with their thoughts. So when the final thought, I'm going to use this term, when the final thought is assembled, what is that? My original thought plus all the influences on that thought. When the final thought is assembled, it's going to go down the road to the brain. So now the brain is going to receive instructions in the form of thought that is composed by my original thought plus others. And we can go even further. The influence of these other spirits' thoughts can be so intense that they overshadow my own thought to a point that I am processing from that point on their thoughts. And what goes to my brain is the final thought, which is theirs mostly, nothing mine at times. Those are special cases of spiritual obsession, possession, and stuff like that. But hey, it could happen to all of us. So what we send to the brain could be, in this case, in this example, it could be a thought that is not really mine. Does the brain know? No. Does it care? Absolutely not. Will it process the same way? Sure. So now I have received this influence in the form of thoughts from, bad spirits telling me to do something bad, something evil. So this gets sent over to the brain. And the brain is not the one who's going to, screen, let me see what this is to see if I'm going to do it. No, it just processes. The brain processes what gets to it from the mental body, again, which includes my thought and all the thoughts of other spirits, if I allow that to happen. It's free will. We should be smart enough not to allow that. More on that in a couple of minutes here. So anyway, the output of what comes out of the mental body is this mix of thoughts. Now, we have to be smart enough to keep up with good thoughts because, and that's the key, if we have good thoughts, spirits around us with bad thoughts are not going to be able to influence us. Because good thoughts overshadow bad thoughts. Think about this. Let me give you an analogy. We have a room, for example, that is completely in the dark, Not a single fiat lux, nothing. How can I break that dark? I can bring light. So, moment I bring light in any form, a candle, anything, flashlight, the moment I bring light into that dark room, darkness goes away. Light prevails. Okay, that's no big deal. That's nothing smart. Yeah, but think the other way around. Now you have a candle. I have a candle here, for example. I have a flashlight here. If I bring dark into this, will dark prevail? Yes or no? No. Dark cannot overshadow light. Light always wins, if you want to use the term win and lose. Light always wins. So if we have good thoughts, bad thoughts cannot get into the mixer, which is our mental body. They will not be transferred over down the road to our brain. So our brain is not going to process negative thoughts, which could be fragments of other people's thoughts, and we are not going to harm our body or not a single cell. So mindfulness of thoughts is something key for us to be in good health. And anything that goes along to eliminate bad thoughts or bad things that we did in the past. Any kind of action that offsets wrongdoings is a good thought or equivalent to it. For example, gratitude. It's a simple thing. Gratitude, doesn't let bad thoughts be around. Forgiveness is probably the best one. Forgiveness. Because if you don't forgive people, let's say something happened 30 years ago and you're still carrying that thing, so you're still connected, you're still living on that day with that tone of bad energy. So bad energy is still part of your thoughts because you think about it from time to time. Even if it's 3 times a week or twice a month, you still have that as part of your mental body. So you are producing bad energy because of that. So by forgiving, this thing goes away. Yeah, I put an end to this thing. Done. Let's go to the next one. So gratitude, forgiveness, self-love, all of these things. Prayer is great. Prayer, meditation. These are great things. These are things that we should be seeking all the time. Mindfulness of thoughts, the desire to do all these good things. We've all heard about this, something called the vision board. When you want to get something, you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you want to win the lotto, whatever it is. So you actually physically, you are induced, I would say, or encouraged at least, to design really physical a vision board and play and put words or things that you will be looking at every day that will keep that thing going. Vision board. Why can't we do a vision board for spiritual achievement? Instead of, I'm going to put a vision board here because I want to win the lottery, let's say next month. How about a vision board for being able to forgive this person that I had a situation with 30 years ago, and I need 2 months to prepare myself to do it? So that 2 months go on my vision board. We don't use the concept, which is a good concept, by the way. We don't use the concept of a vision board for spiritual growth. We use it for material achievements. So, to wrap up, just saying something that I said, repeating. If you have a light, a source of a good thing, you will prevail over dark. If you take the light to the dark, you will enlighten the dark. If you bring dark to the light, you cannot even do it. It's not even doable. So keeping your candle of good thoughts will not let bad thoughts come around. That is mindfulness of thoughts. That will bring us automatically good health, good well-being, the sense of well-being. So thank you very much for joining us today. We have a visitor from New York City. New York, I don't know if it's a city, but thanks for joining us, Gradosa 82. We will be here next week. Once again, Spiritism, a closer look every Wednesday at 7 p.m. right here on Kardec Radio. Thank you very much for tonight. Be well.